Hey everybody, it's Emily the Crazy Worm Lady. It is time for another experiment, or at least I'm going to call it an experiment. I'm really considering this more something that might be fun to get kids involved and just to see the process of how worms process waste. So I just harvested a tray from my worm factory and this is what I'm left with. There are worms in here and this is some unprocessed bedding. So I've had the light on over top of this for a few minutes. And this is kind of how you use the light method to harvest. Is you turn the light on, let the worms dive down, and then you just pull off the top to get the worms underneath. Once you start seeing worms, which I am, you stop and wait a few more minutes. This is a more time-consuming process than sifting perhaps, but this is what I had left after I sifted, so if I wanted to separate these guys I was going to have to do it in a little bit of a more time-consuming fashion. So I'm going to work on this for a few minutes, and once we get our worms out of here I will show you what I'm going to set up. Okay, so while those worms are migrating down, I just have my basket from my shredder. This is just shredded toilet paper and paper towel rolls and one small brick of coconut coir. You absolutely do not have to use coconut coir. I just happened to have a small brick and I thought it would work good for this experiment. So I'm just going to pour some water directly into this basket here to hydrate the coconut coir. You want to add a lot more water than you think you need. This stuff absorbs the moisture like crazy. This is actually a gallon jug that I have here. And I'm going to add just about all of it, and I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes and expand while our worms finish migrating. Okay, so that's what we're left with. It took a full gallon. I mixed the cardboard, the paper towel rolls in with the coconut coir, and I'm just letting it sit to finish hydrating. Then over here, this is our container with our worms, and I can pull little bits off the top, but I'm getting down to pretty much worms at this point. Let me show you. Oh, there's a piece of plastic in here. I'll pull this out. So this is primarily nothing but worms at this point. A little bit of bedding, but I think this is going to be perfect for our experiment here. So I'm going to show you what my thought is. I have this large glass vase, and I am going to layer this with food and bedding and make this something that we can watch over the course of a month or so to see how long the worms take to grow to full size and to process all of the food. So that is my idea. So what I want to start with, so we know how much space we have, I'm going to put the worms as the bottom layer here. Putting them in with their existing bedding. Making a mess. I'm going to have to sweep up after this. So I'm going to take the rest of this. I just dumped some on the floor. Let me get that. I did clean this vase first, but I did not use any cleaner, just water and paper towels. Didn't want to risk anything that could make the worms die. So that's a good, 2-3 inches there on the bottom of the worms and their bedding. So I'm going to add a small layer of this coconut coir on top of that, just to give them a little safety zone while this new setup gets started. You can see those fibers of the coconut coir. So I'm just going to add that little layer there, and I'm going to go get some food, and then we will make ourselves a little worm food lasagna and get this experiment underway. Okay guys, so this is the bag I put together of food that we're going to use strictly for this experiment. It is some celery pieces, banana, and a rotten bell pepper. I'm going to add some coffee grounds and some eggshell, and then we will get everything layered up. Okay, so I added the coffee grounds and the crushed eggshell, and I'm just going to give this a good mix, and we will get this added to our new vase. Okay, I found a temporary housing environment for this. This is just in my regular worm room. So here's the food we're going to use. I also found, I forgot, I had some roses that had died and I had pulled off the petals. So I have some rose petals too. So what I'm going to do is alternate layers here of the bedding and some of these food type items. But we have to keep in mind we don't have a ton of worms, and bedding can act as food, but food cannot act as bedding, and it's easy to overfeed. So I'm just going to do a layer of these rose petals. And this is going to compact down with all of the added stuff we're putting in here. So I'm going to grab a handful of my bedding, layer that on top. I'm going to have to figure out a way to get rid of that glare so you guys can see better. So I'm just going to do 2 loose handfuls of this. Then I'm going to do a handful of our food. Should have opened this first. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. So this smells like banana. Got those banana pieces, the bell pepper, some celery. That's all I'm going to add. It's just a small little handful there. And I already mixed in the eggshell. So that's going to be it. And then I'm going to put another layer of bedding on top of that. So that the smells don't get strong, so we don't entice any fruit flies in, anything like that. So make sure this is well covered. From the top it looks good. From the side it looks good as well. You can see that food layer on the side a little bit better. That flour layer is showing up pretty well. So we're only about halfway up the vase. So I'm going to do one more layer of flowers, another layer of bedding, and then we will leave it for a few days, and I will periodically check in to see how it's going. But I thought this would be an excellent way to get kids involved in vermicomposting, because they might not want to be hands-on right away. Maybe the boys would. I don't know about all girls. As a little girl, I was definitely not into bugs or worms or anything creepy crawly. Quite honestly, I'm still not really. So this is a way that they can watch from afar and not necessarily have to get their hands dirty, so to speak. They can just watch and learn. That's the nice thing about doing something in a clear container as opposed to the typical containers we use, because worms are sensitive to light. However, I've seen multiple people run experiments with these clear containers, and the worms still do fine. I think they adapt to it, and they can go in and out of the layers and get away from the edges if they don't like the light that's going on. So that is our finished product for now, and I'm hoping that as these worms get active, they'll start to be around the edges, and we'll start to see the decomposition of these rose petals. Again, from this angle, you can see even more, so we'll have to kind of do panoramic views every time that we come and check on this. And I'm going to keep this bag of food and this bag of the rose petals, and this will continue to be what we feed this for as long as we keep it going. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you get your kids involved, and I'll be back with you guys real soon for an update.